I have a small room in Section 8 in Tacoma, where I'm a poor old deaf man in my 60s. The first thing I would like to do is thank President Joe Biden from the depths of my spirit, the bottom of my heart, the furthest reaches of my soul for finally releasing the Dan Kennedy release, the documents that people have long sought to try to understand what happened and how it happened. This is 2021. I have, as you can see, a painting of I made of Greta Thunberg on my wall. Many of us have been watching developments in climate change and seeing the media evade talking about it or falsifying it outright. Finally, in large measure, thanks to the bewildered age group who've come forward with Fridays for Future, media is taking into consideration what we all can see and we all know, louder than headlines, the climate change. From this, we garner certain realities about American media and the much celebrated freedoms of the press. They're only as free as their practice is responsible. One of the first things that happened today, I've been watching the Kennedy assassination forums and trying to get through to old researchers who have other things on their minds these days. One of the first things that happened is that the media came out with a no comments allowed article saying that Oswald had contacted from Mexico City a Russian. And that an anonymous caller from Russia predicted the assassination a year before it happened. My. And this, they said, was one of the most shocking morsel of the release. Well, I took the time to go over the 1,400 release or so releases for points of interest to preliminary sleuthing. I'll give you a couple indicators of what's real in the situation with JFK's the new releases. They had a number of listings from Oswald's private phone book that haven't been released before. And they have significantly credible interviews with a caller from Berlin who recognized Marina Oswald as a lover of his. They have pictures of Lee Harvey Oswald, they say, in Mexico City, who are obviously not Lee Harvey Oswald. Well, the reason these have been kept secret for so long is because the person in the FBI who made the memo acknowledges that it's not really Lee Harvey Oswald. And the people in Mexico City even say, if we need to get back to us to try to explain to us why you keep saying this is Oswald when it's obviously not, please do. The really significant anonymous call that the file dump refers to is the release of papers refers to as Foreign England. They confirmed that there was an anonymous call the night before in Foreign England. That's far more significant. Any John Bircher could have, the story of Adam Eisenstadt in Pittsburgh, the Trump speechwriter who's Jewish, who disguised his voice as Abdul the terrorist and got on KDKA radio. And that's never been reported by these imbeciles. But it happened. Plain as day, it happened. I've started rumors, they say, because I mentioned that a dude who was working with this Trumpy Tune speechwriter was also working with the dude who just got busted ripping off the museums for $6 million and selling, getting the books for $6 million through his network at Carnegie Mellon, where I was tortured, brutally held hostage and brutally tortured. And of course, they had this story that I was a Satanist. I wouldn't be surprised if I was Oswald the Lucky Rabbit in their secret ledger. But Carbonell's mission at Carnegie Mellon was more than selling books, it was selling lies. Other things that come up in the new releases of the assassination papers. I don't know how interested you may or may not be in these things, but there's more about Sylvia Duran, whose name comes up in the lore of Kennedy assassination research. And there's things about Jim Garrison. One point that was very interesting to me was that they withheld a document from my birthday, October 20th, 1960, my very birthday, where Martin Luther King allegedly meets with the Italian socialists. And there are some things from Lee Harvey Oswald notebook that names some familiar Russian names, but there's something in there that's particularly interesting. Probably the most important thing I saw today was a evaluation of his having the phone number of Jagger Stovall, because he worked there. And it goes into great detail about the high degree of national security clearance that this company had. So far from making the case that the mainstream media cut comments off to refute that he was somehow a member of Soviet intelligence, the evidence strongly suggests that the national security apparatus around General Walker, the fascists who were leading race uprisings, and secret wars against Cuba. There's a document that says that Jack Ruby was in Cuba for a long time in the early 60s. And there's a lot about Operation Mongoose and the Watergate burglars, E. Howard Hunt. But it's this document about Jagger Stovall that particularly interested me because, for one thing, it's uncharacteristically well written, to the point, involved, concerned, and attentive to the issues. A lot of these documents are, some of them are horrifically blacked out, but some of them are just superficial recognitions that this or that alias was used or something like this. But it's a lot to misrepresent as having some anonymous call super finding about Russia being involved. Another last comment I want to add is that it has a secret interview from 1964 with Khrushchev, which is very interesting. They try to assure Khrushchev of the old refrain that Oswald acted alone, Jack Ruby acted alone. It's like a weird mantra the way they present it. They acted alone, they acted alone. It's really very strange. It's like an insistent banging from the Dragnet Twilight Zone network. And Khrushchev just says, well, it's clearly not true. It was a lot more cunning and involved than that. So if you take the time to read some of these documents, I think you'll see that it was misrepresented yet again here in 2021. They laid out this storyline that Oswald was in Mexico City again, despite the fact that the pictures, the real discoveries of the file release are that Mexico City offered to listen if Washington, D.C. wanted to explain why they were lying about that picture of Oswald when they said it's so obviously not Oswald. If you want to get back to us and tell us why you're lying about it, we'll be happy to lend you an ear, 5 cents, please, the doctor is in,